On this episode of AV Week, we take a look at succession planning as Draper installs a brand new president. Where are we going to get the next generation of AV techs? And talking with architects about AV technology. All that and more. Next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 439, recorded Friday, January 17th, 2020. Pew Pew.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Sure, Sound Extraordinary,
and by FSR, and by Christie Digital.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, first and foremost, her name is Dawn Mead, and you know her as AV Dawn. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Also with us is Mr. Bill Natras from ByAmp. Welcome, sir.
Good seeing you again, Tim. Glad to have get to join again. So
thank you. Here in the new year. Also, last but not least, he's a new guy, so you two be nice to him. His name is Bob Woodick from BenQ. Welcome, sir.
Hello, and happy to be here.
All right. First story actually comes to us from Sound and Communications. Draper has appointed a new president, and just for full disclosure, Draper is an underwriter for AVNation. You can find out more about that on our website. Chris Broom is the fifth president in Draper's 118-year lifespan. As with the previous four presidents, Broom is a family member. Chris is the son of Vice President of Manufacturing Mike Broom and cousin to outgoing President John Pigeon, as well as the great-grandson of Luther Draper, the company's founder. Dawn, I'm going to start with you on this. Draper's created a succession plan for almost 120 years here. When Dawn used to be an integrator as well as now she works for an end user. When you were working for an integrator and you worked with some small ones as well as some pretty good sized ones, how do you craft a legacy like this? How do you craft a legacy to continue the continuity going forward from one generation to the next, from one president to the next?
Well, one of the first things, every integrator that I worked for prior to my current job, which is not at all in that world, they were all family businesses. They were all, we used to call them boutique or mom and pop shops. And the biggest way that you look for that continuity and you build that into your system, if you definitely want it to be a family business, get the family involved. My very first integrator, we did things on the production side as well as the systems integration side. And I remember days that the kids of the owners would come in after school and help stack videotapes if they were doing videotape duplication, or they would, help move things around the warehouse, help mom and dad do their thing. And through that, and, my most recent integrator, they similarly, their son, went to college for IT, came back in, was running a lot of the IT at the company, getting to know the company from the inside out. And I think it's one of those things, if you grow them up in the industry and get them, instill with them a love of the technology and what you're doing, and impress upon them that this is your heritage, this is what your family's doing, let's keep that going. You put yourself in a good stead for that, as opposed to trying to just bring in a kid or a grandkid or whatever that has no background. I'm very impressed with the Draper, over 100 years there of one family being able to maintain that and grow that to the extent they have. Kudos to you guys. That's fantastic. And, I'd love to see more of that, both on the manufacturer side, integrator side, everybody's side, because it's a great sense of family history and it keeps our industry fresh. We don't have to go out, and we'll talk about this later, but we don't have to go out and sell the AV industry to people that grew up in it, because they know we're a thing. They know we're an industry.
Absolutely. Bill, when it comes to this continuity, what does that mean to both the dealers as well as the end users? I mentioned the fact that you also used to be a consultant. What does that mean to the industry, to all of the stakeholders, the folks that rely on you as a manufacturer? What does that continuity mean as this transition happens for kind of the faith in the future of the company?
Well, Well, probably the biggest thing for the dealers channel is the fact that things aren't going to change that much. That continuity is going to be there. To those that are on the consulting side, that relationship shouldn't change either. Now, a portion of the specific change to Draper is not just Chris Broom's moving up to being president, and I congratulate Chris, longtime friend of mine. I'm really glad to hear about this. But it's also the fact that Lee Denhart has moved into Chris's old position as architectural relations. So not only did they plan to continue the continuity of the management of the business and the directions they're going to be going, but and to the dealer channel as well, but they're also looking to continue their relationships with architects and consultants and not changing any of that. So I look at this succession plan discussion as being very widespread. My wife owns her own business, and when she bought the business, the first thing I told her was, you now need to start your succession plan. And that is the very first thing you need to do, because what are you going to do with it when it's time to be done? Now, I don't disagree that, hey, keeping it in the family is really, really important, but I got two kids. I got two kids that, understand my passion for the AV industry, and they want nothing to do with it. So, what do you do in that circumstance? So your succession planning is not just how does the family fit into this. I give a lot of credence to a gentleman who we recently lost in the industry, Bill Scherer. And Bill Scherer used to always say, you need 3 succession plans, because number 1 and number 2 may fall apart on you. And you take a look at some of the businesses, some of the steadfast organizations we have in the AV industry, their succession plans have had to change because, untimely passings or just, any number of market shifts, and this all can change. So knowing what you're planning to do to get out of it is just as important as knowing what you're planning to do to make it better.
I think it's really good advice that you gave your wife, that, as soon as you start your business, or at least certainly thereafter, as long as it's going to be around, find a way or find where your exit strategy is. Bob, as we wrap up here, how do you communicate this to your dealers, to your customers, and honestly to their customers during a transition like that, whether it's at the top like this is, or even lower down the kind of the chain there? How do you communicate that you guys are, whether it's UBenQ or Biamp, or in this case Draper, you guys are still going to be there for the clients regardless of who's kind of in each spot?
Well, it's an important question, and the simple answer is very carefully, because one of the dynamics in the AV business is that it is a business-to-business type of environment versus maybe other parts of BenQ's business that's more business-to-consumer. But in the business-to-business side, one of the key elements we focus on is trust building and making sure that the fundamental assumptions of the business relationship are always solid. And anytime you have a transition in leadership or product transitions or times when there is transition, it's quite a frightening time, because certainly in most technology fields, anytime there's technology transitions, there's oftentimes market share shifts, and oftentimes when there's leadership transitions, there's strategy or focus shifts. So those have to be clearly communicated to all of the interested parties, so that everybody is sort of on the same page as you move forward, and either embrace or reevaluate how the next future is going to look with the new changed situation.
Thank you so much for watching this first segment of AVWeek. To see the rest of the episode, click on the link below or go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.